How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the channel. This is EachOne, ReachOne. I pray and I hope that I can teach and reach one of you with this lesson, Lord willing, of course. Thanks for stopping by and joining me today for this lesson. I'm always happy to study with you guys. I appreciate the fellowship indirectly. Um, Let us give all praise, honor, and all of the glory to where it belongs, not to man, but to the highest, Abba Yahawah, in the name of our beloved King, who comes in the name of our Father to do the will of our Father. And may his will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's what it's all about. If you are not in favor of God's plan, you are an antichrist. You are anti-him. You can't want something different than his promises and say that you are for him and say that you love him. If you want his promises to fail, if you want him to break his word and break his oath and make himself a liar for your benefit, you are anti-him. And you don't respect his character, and you don't believe in his character and the fact that he cannot change those things. So a lot of these belief systems that people have are erroneous beliefs that make them enemies of God. And so I'm coming to you with this one because, again, I get provoked by vexation of spirit sometimes, watching things and hearing certain things. And I've been looking, all across social media, and I constantly see the conversations going back and round like a merry-go-round, and people hamster wheeling concerning things that shouldn't, be this confusing, but they are because, Satan is run amok. So the conversation of dispensationalism and covenant theology and replacement theology, and sometimes these different theologies are combined, and sometimes they're distinct, and depending on what sect you are dealing with, you got to adjust to their particular ideology. So you got to study them all. And so in order to speak to certain points and speak against certain points, I got to be well studied in what the beliefs of the people are. And so instead of attacking all of the different belief systems of the ideologies, I'm gonna go through scriptures that's gonna basically touch on all of these theologies and dispel them without really spending too much time or any amount of time really attacking any one thing. I'm just gonna do a broad lesson that's gonna encapsulate the ideologies of the rest in the sense of encapsulating, um, tearing them down. I'm gonna tear them all down at once, you know. And so here we go. It is important for people to understand that Israel is not cast away. I was doing some reading on these different theologies and seeing different people speak, and I often hear them say how it's not really important on who's right and who's wrong concerning which theology or belief system is correct. As long as you believe in Christ, that's the only thing that matters. That is not the only thing that matters. He never tells you that it's the only thing that matters. His doctrine matters. All right. That's why he came to bring us word from the Father to clear up any confusion, because the Most High does not want there to be confusion. So where there is confusion, there's an absence of the Father. There's an absence of Christ. Don't believe me? Let's go into the scriptures. We'll get 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 33. For the Elohim is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints. So if Elohim, the Father, and Yahawashi Christ are not the author of confusion, then who is? Satan, that great dragon that deceived the whole world, right? And so what do you see from Christianity? A world of confusion. See how you use that term world, not as in the earth, but as in, it's specific to those people, all the people of the Christian church. They can be called a world unto themselves, right? People in Islam can be called a world unto themselves, harkening back to the truth about John 3:16, but that's not really the main focal point of this lesson. So let me get back on track. The Father and Yahawashi Christ are not the authors of confusion. Satan is. And so we have to dispel these lies of Satan in order to bring out the truth, because these lies and confusion of Satan is placed at the forefront in order for again, confusion, to cause derision, to cause confusion, and to lead people away from God and towards himself. Satan is demonic. Obviously, he's evil, all right, in his actions and his deeds. Satan knows that there is an appointed time for him to be placed in that lake of fire, to be taken out of the way. And so, like many people who are wicked of spirit, they don't want to go down on their own, right? Misery truly loves company. So they would like as many people to go down with them as possible. And Satan is no different. Satan is hoping to take as many people with him to the lake of fire as possible. And Satan being the prince of this world, his religions were set up in order to destroy the masses, Christianity being chief among them. All right. And so let's get verse 38. But if any man be ignorant, let him be ignorant. And so I'm not here to speak to the ignorant. I'm not here to try to talk anybody out of their well-entrenched belief. I'm here for those who can be persuaded by the Holy Spirit, not for the ignorant. All right. I'm here for those who have just simply been led astray, or just simply, lack knowledge, wisdom, and understanding on the subject, and they've been led by other people, not because they've studied and they've come to the wrong conclusions and they have dug their heels in regarding what they now believe. No, I'm here for the people who have not been well studied. And unfortunately, that does include many Christians, because many Christians, they don't study. They just go to church, they hear a few scriptures, a few verses, and then a lot of conjecture and commentary after that concerning those scriptures, right? And so I'm here also for my Israelite brethren, my brothers and sisters who need a firm grasp of this truth for their own affirmation of their belief, and to give them the spiritual weapons that they need in order to justify their faith, justify their belief in the face of gainsayers, in face of those who would try to, do what the devil does, is come and take the seed of truth away from them that's being sown in them whenever given an opportunity. All right, so with that said, let's go to one of the favorite scriptures of Christians. We're going to go to Romans chapter 11. They love it here, but they don't quite understand what they're reading. Look at the subject. Israel is not cast away. How does that vibe with the theology that says Israel has been forsaken, Israel has been cast away, and that biblical Israel is no more, and that it's no longer about biblical Israel, it's about spiritual Israel. And spiritual Israel are the Christian converts. Any Gentile, any person who comes into Christianity and accepts Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, believes that he died for their sins, then they become a Christian. And when you become a Christian, you become Israel, spiritual Israel. That's what they believe. And they'll tout Paul as their source of where they get their information from. But this is Paul speaking. Paul is making it clear that Israel is not cast away. Let's get into it. I say then, hath Elohim cast away his people? Elohim forbid. For I also am an Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. He's letting you know that it's all about seed, the seed of Abraham. It's all about the bloodline of Israel, not about spiritualism, not about spiritual Israel, not about spiritual converts, not about whosoever believes in Christ. That's not who he's talking about. That's not who he is saying Israel is. He's saying Israel is of the seed of Abraham, specifying that he is of the tribe of Benjamin, which is a son of the man Israel. It's all about offspring, bloodline, 100%. He's establishing that in the very first verse. Elohim hath not cast away his people, which he foreknew. Israel are his people who he foreknew, and he has not cast them away. Paul has not told you that, and he's clearing up any confusion on this matter. Letting you know, I'm not saying that. I've never said that. Let me make it clear. Elohim hath not cast away his people, which he foreknew. What ye not, what the scripture saith of Elias, aka Elijah, how he maketh intercession to Elohim against Israel, saying, Lord, they have killed thy prophets and digged down thine altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life. But what saith the answer of Elohim unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal, making them virgins. They are part of the 144,000. All right, the 144,000 are elect men reserved unto the Most High God, to Elohim. All right, even so, then at this present time, also there is a remnant according to the election of grace. A remnant of who? A remnant of Israel. There is a remnant of Israel at this present time according to the election of grace. Election, what does that mean? The chosen. When there is election, that means somebody is being chosen for office. All right? So Israel are those who can obtain the election of grace, and not even all of Israel, but a remnant of Israel. And that's what it's all about gathering the remnant, not all, because those who are ignorant, those who are ignorant will be left in ignorance. Those who are deeply entrenched in darkness will be left in darkness, if that is the will of the Father. Because it may be the case that there are many who are entrenched in darkness just because it hasn't been their time to come out yet. There is a time and a season. There's a time, a season, and a place for all things in the Most High's plan. Even with the awakening of people, we don't all awaken at the same time. All right, so let's not get it mistaken that anybody who is not yet awake, that they are doomed. That's not necessarily the truth for 100% of the cases. All right, it says, and if by grace, then is it no more of works. The law of Moses was the law of works. Otherwise, grace is no more grace. But if it be of works, then it is no more grace. Otherwise, work is no more work. What then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, meaning all of Israel. The whole seed line of Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it. The remnant, those chosen out of Israel, hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded. It's letting you know that's exactly what he's talking about. That's not my interpretation. That's exactly what's being said. All right. Israel as a whole hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the chosen among Israel hath obtained it, and the rest of Israel were blinded. According as it is written, Elohim hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear, unto this day. And David saith, let their table be made a snare, and a trap, and a stumbling block, and a recompense unto them. What does he mean by their table? Well, think of what a table is used for. You use a table to place your food on, right? When you're going to sit down to eat. That's where you sit down to eat. All right. Where do many Israelites sit down to eat? Well, at the law of Moses. The law of Moses is what he was talking about. He says, let the law of Moses be made a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and a recompense unto them. That's what he's talking about. Let their eyes be darkened that they may not see, and bow down their back always. So as you saw in the time of Christ, there were many Israelites who were clinging to the law of Moses because the law of Moses had been made a snare, a trap, and a stumbling block unto them. Their eyes were darkened that they may not see. That's what happened. And it's happening again still today in our time. This is happening among the awakened Israelite community. Many have awakened only to awaken from a dream within the dream. They're still asleep and they don't know it. All right. And so we're going to take this and we're going to apply it to Christians. Their table has been made a snare unto them. What is their table? Well, Christianity. is the table that they sit at to consume the word of God. They intake Christianity. Okay? And so Christianity has been made a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and a recompense unto them. Their individual theologies have all been made to be a table for them that they sit at to consume the word of God. Their eyes have been darkened that they may not see. This is going on. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? Talking about Israel. Elohim forbid. But rather, through their fall, salvation has come to the Gentiles. Now, what you need to understand is that at the time when Paul is speaking, not all of the bloodline of Israel were actually considered Israel, because the Most High God, he separated the northern kingdom Israel from the southern kingdom of Israel, making them no more his people, no longer calling them Israel. That was made to be the case for a time, not for all time. All right, so they became Gentiles when they were separated from the commonwealth of Israel. They were no longer considered Israel. It's like taking your last name and from your woman and making her go by her maiden name again. When he cast off the northern kingdom, they became Gentiles, no longer being considered Israel to God. And not only the northern kingdom of Israel, but many of the southern kingdom of Israel as well, because the southern kingdom of Israel went into different captivities, right? Like the Babylonian captivity, the Persian and Medes captivity. They went into the Greek captivity, and after the Greek captivity, the Roman captivity, right? That's why it's called the book of Romans. It is a letter sent to the Roman Israelites, the Israelites who were under Roman authority. All right. Just like when it's talking about neither Jew nor Greek, it's talking about the Greeks. The Greeks were the Israelite Greeks who were under Greek captivity. If you don't understand these things, you will never understand what this book is truly talking about. You will misconstrue the things of the Bible, and you will not know how you receive salvation if you can. You will not know what you're supposed to do. You're going to be doing the wrong thing. And so you will not, what you're doing will not bear fruit. It's going to be in vain. That's why he says, in vain they do worship me. All right. A lot of people are worshiping him in vain. What they're doing in service to him, he's not giving them credit for. He's not appreciating it. He doesn't like it. But they're doing it in his name. And it's upsetting him. You got to learn the truth. All right. For the salvation is come unto the Gentiles for to provoke them of Judah to jealousy. Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world, what world? Not the earth, of Israel, the world of Israel, and the diminishing of them the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness? For I speak to you, Gentiles. Remember, he's speaking, again, this is the book of Romans. He's speaking to Roman Gentiles, the Israelites who are under Roman captivity. That's who he's speaking to. For I speak to you, Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify mine office. If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them. All right. So he's telling you what his hope is to provoke to emulation them that are his flesh, to save some of his brethren. It's all about trying to save his brethren, his kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, the reconciling of the world. All right. Now, the entire earth couldn't reconcile unto Elohim. What does reconciling means? Atonement, right? Atonement, adjustment of a difference, reconciliation, restoration to favor, restoration, restoring, right? Restoring. The other nations were never with God, never had a covenant with him and then fell away from him and needed reconciliation, needed atonement, needed to be restored back to favor. But Israel, the only people who the Most High ever had a dealing with was Israel. And Israel are the only people that he's ever had a dealing with that he sent into slavery, sent into captivity, pushed them away from him, that would need restoration to favor, that would need reconciliation, that would need an adjustment of a difference. All right, we got to keep things in their proper context, not in the satanic context, the proper context. All right. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches. All right. Remember, branches talk about, different branches of a tree, right? Different branches of a tree. And if some of the branches be broken off, if some of the branches of a tree be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree, it's still an olive tree though, right? Not a different tree altogether. Being a wild olive tree, think about the scriptures that talk about the two olive trees, right? Which are the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Israel, two olive trees, right? And one olive tree became a wild olive tree. That's the northern kingdom of Israel. They became the wild olive tree. So, and if some of the branches be broken off, and thou, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, and not only does the northern kingdom become a wild olive tree, but those of the southern kingdom, when they are broken off, when they depart from God, they become a tree unto themselves, but they're still olive trees because they are the same people. They didn't stop being who they are by bloodline. They just stopped having their covenant relationship with Yahawashi and our father Yahawah. All right. And if some of the branches be broken off, as you see, not all of the branches were broken off, as many Christians like to say that all of Israel has been thrown away because all of Israel denied Christ. But that's not true. All of Israel did not deny Christ. All of Israel did not persecute him. All of Israel was not responsible for his death. If thou being a wild olive tree were grafted among them, and with them partakest of the root and the fatness of the olive tree, boast not against the branches. But if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. All right. And Christ being the root. All right. He is the way in which the tree is fed and receive sustenance. The house of Israel as a whole. I'm not separating Judah from Israel. The house of Israel as a whole, meaning both the northern and southern kingdom, constitute the tree. All right. And thou will say then, the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. And the irony is because Christians believe that they are the wild olive tree. This can also be applied to Christians. See, that is the double layered nature of the scriptures. That is what we call a double entendre, right? This was talking about Israel, but because in today's time, the Christians boast themselves as being the wild olive tree who have been grafted in, this can also now apply to them because they are doing what the Israelites who were being grafted back in among their tree, what they were warned against. They boast against the natural branches. They were warned not to do that. Christians boast against Israel, saying Israel has been done away with. Israel has been cast away. Israel has been forsaken. And we, the Christian church, we are the house of God. We are the body of Christ. We have replaced the Israelites. We are spiritual Israel, and the bloodline of Israel is no more. That's what they say. Right? He says, thou will say then the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off, and thou standest by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear. Let's get that again. Be not high-minded, but fear. For if Elohim spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. You hear that warning? If he didn't spare his beloved children, Christians, take heed lest he also spare not thee. This is why it's important to know the true doctrine, and why it's also important to know who his people are. Why it really does matter, the truth. It doesn't just matter if you just believe that Christ died and was raised up, and that you believe he died for your sins. That's not the only thing that matters. There is a lot that comes with this. That is the reason why you have to be well studied. That is the reason why the scriptures tell us we must study to show ourselves approved. If it was only about just believing in him and that's it, there would be no need for constant study. If we just had to believe in him and that's it, Christ would have never told the Syrophoenician woman that he was only sent unto the house of Israel, and that it was not meet to cast the children's bread unto dogs. He would not have said that. He would have rewarded her right off the bat simply for believing in him, but he did not. Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of Elohim. But toward thee, on them which fell. Let's start off again. Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of Elohim on them which fell, severity. But toward thee, goodness, if thou continue in his goodness. Otherwise, thou also shalt be cut off. So you can come in and go out. Christians like to say, once a believer, always a believer. Once saved, always saved. Where does that doctrine come from? Well, Satan. The Christian doctrine doesn't align with the Bible. Not only are they applying incorrectly what the scriptures are really saying, when they even mess up with the parts that could be seen as vaguely applying to them, right? They completely misinterpret the things that are evident. So how are they going to understand the great secrets and mysteries, the dark sayings and the parables? They can't. All right. So again, a tenet of Christianity is that once saved, always saved, but that is not true. He says, if you continue in his goodness, otherwise thou also shalt be cut off. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in. For Elohim is able to graft them in again. And so you are seeing that those of us who awaken and we are returning to him and believe in him, not abiding still in unbelief, we're grafted back in. For if thou were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, listen, if thou were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be of the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree? So why do you believe Israel is cast away? Even if you believe that the wild olive tree pertains to Christians. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you are correct. Christians are the wild olive tree. Okay, let's give you that. Why are you still saying that it doesn't matter who Israel is? Why are you saying that the natural branches aren't important? Why are you still saying that you get to replace Israel and you become spiritual Israel? Why are you still saying that? Why are you still saying that it doesn't matter if you are of natural Israel or not, because it's only about the Christian believers? That's all it's about. Now, do you think the Father is happy with you for boasting against his children? Let's say he did bring you in as wild olive branches, and he were allowing you to be grafted in, but you are boasting against his children. Think about this. He has his children, and then he has the other nations. Do you believe for 1 second that he's pleased with you boasting against his children? Do you think that for 1 second he's pleased with you, trying to steal their inheritance, trying to box them out and say that you are the church. They no longer have anything to do with him, and you have replaced them being the church. How do you think he feels about that? You know how he feels if you read the Bible. That's why Christianity is killing you, marching you to death, and you don't know it. He says, for I would not, brethren, listen. Remember, he's speaking to these Romans, the same people who he called Gentiles. Now he's calling them brethren. Why is he calling them brethren? He only uses brethren when he's talking about Israelites, when he's talking about people who come from the seed of Jacob, Israel. So he called them Gentiles. He called them wild olive branches, say they came from a wild olive tree, and then he says brethren. He calls them brethren because they are Israelites who he's talking to. For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery. And for many, this is a mystery. It has been left a mystery by the Most High God for a reason. He let it remain a mystery so that the Gentiles of the other nations, the heathen nations, would believe that they had some parts in the Bible so that they wouldn't destroy the Bible the way they destroyed many other books, libraries, and things out of history that pointed to the greatness of the Israelites, that pointed to the greatness of the so-called Negro. They try to burn all trace of our history, to disconnect us from the greatness of our history, to convince us that we have always been and are nothing better than slaves. When the books don't fit their agenda, they burn them, they destroy them. To keep the Bible and the scriptures, the written word of God, from being destroyed by Satan, by our enemies, he allowed them to co-opt the book. He allowed them to be able to believe that the book was talking to them about them, that salvation could be for them, in order to preserve his word, so that in time, in process of time, he will be able to use the book to awaken his children, as you're watching right now. This is the great mystery of God that's now being revealed, his mystery of salvation. Right? For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits. And this is what happens to Christians. They are wise in their own conceits, not wise according to God, not wise through the Holy Spirit, but wise in their own conceits. Right? That blindness in part, not in totality, not fully, blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. And also, well, hold on. And so all Israel shall be saved. Let's get that again for the people in the back. And so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written. Written where? In the Old Testament. It's written in the Old Testament, this prophecy that there shall come out of Zion the deliverer. All right, listen. There shall come out of Zion the deliverer, out of Judah, out of the northern kingdom of Israel. And that's where he came from. He came out of Zion, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. He shall do what? Turn away ungodliness for Jacob. Well, that sounds familiar to what Christ said. I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He's saying here that Christ came out of Zion, and his mission, his purpose for coming, was to turn away ungodliness from Jacob, not from the earth. So if his mission was to turn away ungodliness from Jacob, why is this word going out to Gentiles and not to Jacob? There's a contradiction here. If the Gentiles are not Israelites, we have a problem with contradiction in the scriptures. We have a problem with the Most High being a liar. We have a problem with Christ being liars. The Father and Christ are both liars if the Gentiles spoken of in the New Testament are not Israelites. You can't have both. You got to choose. Which one is it? Are they lying, or are the Gentiles Israelites? If you say the Gentiles are non-Israelites, what you're also saying is that our Father, who cannot lie, and Christ, the righteous, are both liars and deceivers. That they are no better than Satan, is what you're saying. For this is my covenant unto them. This is my agreement. This is my pact. This is my oath unto them. Them who? Jacob, those of Jacob, the seed of Jacob, the children of Israel. For this is my covenant unto them when I shall take away their sins. That was the whole point of Christ's coming, to take away the sins of the children of Israel, not for them to be cast off and to be replaced with other people. All right? And so, for the sake of time, I'm not going to finish this chapter. I could, but I got a lot that I want to get through. I'm not going to get through it all in this lesson. We're going to break this up into parts. All right. But for the sake of this not being as long as it possibly could be, I'm going to end this one here, not this lesson. I'm going to end this chapter. You can continue to read the rest of the chapter on your own. I suggest you do it. But for now, let's take a walk to John chapter 7. John chapter 7, we want to go down to verse 35. Then said the Judites among themselves, whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Because Christ said that he was, okay, matter of fact, let's just back up a little bit just to get more context. Then said Yahawashi unto them, yet a little while am I with you, and then I go unto him that sent me. He's talking to Israel, right? He's not talking to other people, letting you know he's with Israel. He came to Israel, for Israel, dwelt among Israel, taught to Israel, taught among Israel. Yet a little while am I with you, Israel, and then I go unto him that sent me. Ye shall seek me, and shall not find me, and where I am, thither ye cannot come. Then said the Judites among themselves, whither will he go? Where will he go that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles? Listen, the dispersed who? The dispersed Israelites. They're asking, is he going to go to the dispersed Israelites among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? Wait a minute. That doesn't make sense. That's crazy. Yes, it does make sense. Will he go to the dispersed Israelites among the Gentiles of the other nations and teach the Israelite Gentiles, those who are dispersed among the Gentiles? That's why he says, will he go to the dispersed? You know, the dispersed are Israelites. So if they're asking, will he go to the dispersed Israelites? You have to know that when it says and teach the Gentiles, that when they say Gentiles right here, they're speaking about the dispersed Israelites, because they were not cast away. That's the reason why Paul was sent to them. But as you can see, Israelites being referred to as Gentiles. Okay, let's go to Acts chapter 11. Act 11, verse 18. When they heard these things, they held their peace and glorified Elohim. Elohim is the better pronunciation of it. See, even I still got some old things that I just can't shake. I try to avoid saying God sometimes and replace it with the word that is actually there. But even, because I used to say Elohim for so long, I still say it. But I know that their true pronunciation is Elohim, right? But that's not the point of the lesson. Then hath Elohim also to the Gentiles granted repentance unto life. Let's get this. When they heard these things, they held their peace and glorified Elohim, saying, then hath Elohim also to the Gentiles granted repentance unto life. Let's go and get repentance. What does repentance mean? We can't just keep reading and not understanding the usage of words. Repentance, a change of mind as it appears to one who repents. of a purpose he has formed or of something he has done. Let's come down further. A compunction for guilt, including a compunction for reformation, right? Reformation, right? Again, the re in front of words like that means to do again, right? Again. And so who will be able to get repentance and reformation? Those who were cut from formation, so to speak, to put it in the way that you can understand. Israel. Only Israel could be reformed because only Israel were ever with him and severed from him. All right, not another people. So only the people who were once his people, who had a covenant with him and then was cast off, who got in trouble, went into captivity, who stopped following him, who stopped obeying him, would need repentance, could be reformed. All right? Let us continue. The church at Antioch. Now, they which were scattered abroad upon the persecution that arose about Stephen traveled as far as Phoenice and Cyprus and Antioch, preaching the word to none but the Judites only. So they were going to these provinces, right? And they were preaching the word to none but the Judites only. But why would they leave Jerusalem and go to these different places to teach the Greeks and Romans? Well, because those Greeks and Romans are Israelites. That's why they went to those places. But when they went to those places, they preached to the word to none but the Jews only in those places, letting you know that yes, they went to these places, but the people who they preached the word to were Judites. Judites living in those locations. And so this is what's hard for many Christians to understand, because they don't understand the history of the captivities of the Israelites. All right? And some of them were men of Cyprus and Cyrene. And some of them who? The people preaching. Those scattered abroad. Some of those who were scattered abroad after the persecution were men of Cyprus and Cyrene, which would mean they were men of Israel, Israelite men. And Cyprus and Cyrene, these are just locations. These are cities, right? So you can still be an Israelite in these cities, in different countries. The different countries that you lived in or different places you lived in don't stop you from being an Israelite. All right? And some of them were men of Cyprus and Cyrene, which when they were come to Antioch, spake unto the Grecians, preaching the Lord Yahawashi. Why is that? Because they were able to speak the language. They spoke Hebrew and Greek so that they could communicate to the Israelite brethren who were Grecians. All right? Grecian is not an ethnicity, it's a nationality. Okay? The same way living in America makes you an American by nationality. Being born in America makes you an American by nationality, but it does not make you, American is not an ethnicity. There are many ethnicities inside of America that distinguish the people of America. In the same way, you can apply this to the scriptures. All right? There are many Israelites who had different nationalities because they lived in different places. They were scattered here and there. All right? So again, they're going to these Israelites in these different places because Israel was not cast away. Israel is being recovered. They are keeping true to what Christ said his mission was, to recover the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Paul is not going off doing his own thing. The apostles and disciples are not just doing their own thing. They're not just winging it. They're following their mandate from Christ, from Yahawashi, which was to go to the seed of Israel. Go to everywhere the Israelites are scattered and preach to them that the kingdom of heaven is coming, is near. All right. Let's go to, we're going to stay in Acts. Let's go to Acts 14. Oops. Acts 14, verse 2. But the unbelieving Jews, well, as a matter of fact, let's start from verse 1. And it came to pass in Iconium that they went both together into the synagogue of Jews. Listen, in Iconium, there is a synagogue of Jews in Iconium. Why? Because the Israelites were spread out because of their captivity. That's why. And it came to pass in Iconium that they went both together into the synagogues of the Judites, and so spake that a great multitude, both of the Judites and also of the Greeks, believed. All right, again, saying Greeks is the same as saying Americans. It doesn't point to ethnicity. It points to nationality, meaning the people of this region. All right, but which people of the region? The Israelites in that region. But the unbelieving Judites stirred up the Gentiles and made their minds evil affected against the brethren. All right, against their brethren. Because remember, when he says brethren, it's talking about Israelites. The unbelieving Judites stirred up the Gentiles. How did they do this? It's some things that people don't even take into account, right? If the Israelites were Hebrew speaking, how were they communicating with the Greeks and the Roman citizens? Because many of those Greek and Roman citizens were Hebrew speaking Israelites, right? And many who were Hebrew speaking Israelites also were able to speak Latin and Greek. So they were Israelites who were bilingual. The same way you can see a person of Hispanic descent or whatever in the United States, and they speak both English and Spanish. And so they can speak to their people who speak English, and they can speak to their people who speak Spanish. They can speak to the people who speak English and then come and bring word from them and translate it into the Spanish. Same thing. Same thing. All right, let's go to a chapter over to Acts chapter 15. And let's get verse 3. And being brought on their way by the church, they passed through Phoenice and Samaria, declaring the conversion of the Gentiles. And they caused great joy unto all the brethren. So why are these Israelites being overjoyed about the conversion of these Gentiles? Because these Gentiles, this is their family. This is their family. It's a great thing to see their family being brought into a bond together again and to no longer be separate. They are happy that the Most High God is removing the middle wall of partition between the brethren and sealing up the breaches. That's the reason for the joy. Let's go to verse 23. And they wrote letters by them after this manner. The apostles and elders and brethren send greeting unto the brethren, which are of the Gentiles in Antioch and Syria and Cilicia. So it's telling you that there are Israelite brethren who are of the Gentiles. They are called Gentiles. They are living like Gentiles. They are with the Gentiles in these nations, right? In these Greek provinces. It's all about Israel. All right. It says, For as much as we have heard that certain which went out from us have troubled you with words, subverting your souls, saying, you must be circumcised and keep the law, to whom we gave no such commandment. Why would they be telling these non-Israelites that they must keep the law of Moses? The law of Moses was a covenant of Israel. It was a law of Israel. It was a land law for the Israelites. Why are there and also the law of circumcision was a covenant made between Abraham and his seed. Why would they be telling non-seeds of Abraham that they must keep the covenant given to Abraham and his seed? Doesn't make sense. That's not what they're doing. All right. You must be circumcised and keep the law, to whom we gave no such commandment. All right. So let's go back to Romans. Let's go to Romans chapter 3. All right. Romans chapter 3, verse 9. What then? Are we better than they? No, in no wise. For we have before proved, both Jews, Judites, and Gentiles, that they are all under sin. The Judites and the Gentiles are all under sin? All of them? They're all under sin, huh? Well, in order to understand that, we have to first understand, what does sin mean? What does it mean? Right? That they have all been concluded under sin. Sin is the transgression of the law. But let's go to 1 John. I'll come back to that. Let's go to 1 John. I hope I remember. Let's go to 1 John chapter, where do I want to go? Chapter 3. Verse 4. Whosoever committed sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. All right? Whosoever committed sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. So if sin is the transgression of the law, who are the people being spoken about here when it says the Gentiles were also concluded under sin with the Jews? If sin is the transgression of the law, we know the Jews were under the law, but if sin is the transgression of the law, that means these Gentiles had to at one time been under the law. Who could they be then? If only Israel were under the law. All right. All right. Now let me go to Romans 15, where I was going to go. I was going to go directly here, but I decided to go to 1 John chapter 3 and 4, just so that I wouldn't forget to go. I didn't trust myself not to forget, so I went there first. So now let me go where I was meaning to go after Romans 3 and 9, which is, let's go to Romans 15, verse 23. Is that right? Is that where I want to go? Okay. Wait, no. Verse 3 first. Then we get verse 23. For even Christ pleased not himself, but as it is written, the reproaches of them that reproach thee fell on me. The reproaches of them that reproached thee fell on me. All right, let's get that again. For even Christ pleased not himself, but as it is written, the reproaches of them that reproached thee fell on me. All right, so for whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning. Were written aforetime when? In the Old Testament. If the Old Testament scriptures were written for their learning, who are the they? Who are the our in this statement, our learning? The Israelites. It was written the things before time were written by the Israelite prophets to the Israelites. And if those things which were written aforetime by the Israelite prophets to the Israelites were written for our learning, the our here has to be Israelites. But again, this is the book of Romans. These Romans being spoken to and spoken of are Israelites, that we, Israelites, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope. Israel is not being thrown away. Israel is being gathered. They were scattered, and then came the gathering. All right, verse 23. But now, having no more place in these parts, and having a great desire these many years to come to you. All right, but now having no more place in these parts, and having a great desire these many years to come unto you. Whensoever I take my journey into Spain, I will come to you. Wait a minute. Going to who? Who is he talking to? He's talking about the Israelites who were scattered to Spain. There are Israelites also in Spain. There are Israelites all over the place because of their many captivities. So he's saying, I have to go to the brothers in Spain also. He says, for I trust to see you in my journey, and to be brought on my way thither by you, if first I be somewhat filled with your company. But now I go into Jerusalem to minister unto the saints. Wait a minute. Only Israelites were in Jerusalem, and he's going there to minister unto the saints? It's like he's telling us that the saints are Israelites or something. I know that's contrary to what Christianity says, but again, Christianity has nothing to do with the Bible. Everything to do with Satan. All right, let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 12. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 1. Yeah, that's where we're starting. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, remember there's a letter to the brethren in Corinth, another province where the Israelites are. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Ye know that ye were Gentiles, carried away unto these dumb idols, even as you were led. All right. Ye were Gentiles, meaning at one time you were Gentiles, but you are Gentiles no longer. Why were you Gentiles? Because you were carried away unto these dumb idols. Carried away away from what? Away from God to these dumb idols. All the other nations, they didn't need to be carried away unto the dumb idols. They've always had the dumb idols. All they've ever had was the dumb idols. But Israel are the only people who were with God and then were carried away from him to dumb idols. All right? All right. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 5. Let's get verse 1. It is reported commonly that there is fornication among you, and such fornication as is not so much as named among the Gentiles, that one should have his father's wife. So there's a distinction being made between the Gentile heathens and the Gentile Israelites, letting you know he's speaking to Gentile Israelites, because these people of Corinth who he's speaking to are Gentiles at the moment. Gentile Israelites who he's trying to disconnect from the Gentiles of the other nations. That's the mission, to separate their brethren from the other nations, to bring them back to their God. That's the mission. All right. So you see the separation being shown here, because if the people he's speaking to are just all Gentiles, why is he saying that there is a difference between them and the Gentiles and the type of fornication committed by the Gentiles versus the kind of fornication that they are committing? He's making a separation between Gentiles, Gentile Israelites, and Gentiles of other nations. All right, let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 10. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 20. And as you see at the top, it says, avoid Israel's mistakes. All right. So this is a warning. Avoid Israel's mistakes. And what does this mean? You see, he's talking to the Gentiles and he's telling them to avoid Israel's mistakes. He's talking to the Israelite Gentiles and telling them to avoid the mistakes of the Israelites of the southern kingdom. Because remember, the southern kingdom was not separated from God. He did not divorce the southern kingdom Israelites. So they were still called Israel. Those who of the northern kingdom who were separated from him became known as Gentiles and no longer being called Israel. Even the southern kingdom Israelites who went away from him and went after dumb idols, they were no longer called Israel, because you can't be called Israel if you are going after other gods. The Most High will take the name from you when you disconnect from him. That's what this is talking about. That's why it starts off, moreover, brethren. Again, so he's talking about Israelites. You need more proof? Well, let's read. It says, moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant how that all our fathers were under the cloud and all passed through the sea. He's talking about Exodus. And were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea, letting you know that these brethren who he's addressing are Israelites, the same people who are the children. I'm sorry, not the same people. The children. Let me fix this. The people who are the children of those who were under the cloud and passed through the sea. There we go. That's who he's speaking to. All right. Without a doubt, these men of Corinth who he's speaking to, that he calls brethren, are Israelites. Every time he says brethren, he's speaking to and about Israelites without fail. Don't let Christianity tell you any different. So you see Paul continuing, he's on his mission to recover the Israelites because they were not cast away for good, but for a small time. And that time of it being over began when Christ came. That was the beginning of the recovery of Israel. All right? Of bringing Israel out of being Gentiles back to our God. Let's go to verse 20. But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils and not to Elohim. And I would not that ye should have fellowship with devils. So he's saying that the things with the Gentile sacrifice, he's talking about the Gentiles who are not Israelites. And also probably those who are Gentile Israelites who have gone the way of the heathen, and they are sacrificing unto idols, sacrificing unto devils. I would not that ye should have fellowship with devils. So this is twofold. Don't have any fellowship with these Gentile heathens, with these Gentiles of the other nations who are sacrificing unto devils. And on the same token, don't have anything to do, no fellowship with the devils of our own nation, of the Gentiles of our own nation, of our own people who sacrifice unto devils. Leave them both alone. You cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils. You cannot be partakers of the Lord's table and of the table of devils. Do we provoke the Lord to jealousy? Better not. Let's go to Galatians chapter 12. I'm sorry. I'm in Galatians chapter 2, verse 12. Wow. There is no Galatians chapter 12. Galatians chapter 2, verse 12. For before that certain came from James, he did eat with the Gentiles. But when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision. Why is it saying fearing them which were of the circumcision instead of just saying the Jews or the Judites? Because it's making a distinction. It's letting you know that these Gentiles are also Israelites, but these are the Israelites that are not of the circumcision, because they have been separated unto idols, right? They were not practicing the customs of their forefathers. They were not circumcising like the custom of the forefathers. All right. He withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision, because there was a schism between the circumcision and the uncircumcision. And the circumcision versus uncircumcision is all about Israel versus Israel. It's an Israel versus Israel beef, so to speak. But because these Israelites are not of the circumcision, they were disconnected from the Commonwealth of Israel, no longer being called Israel, thereby being referred to as Gentiles, but now are being scattered. And and James, he was hanging out with his brethren, with fellow Israelites. They just were Israelites that didn't practice the customs of Israel. That's it. But they were still Israelites. All right. Let's go to Revelation chapter 1. I'm sorry, Revelation 11, verse 1. Wow. Revelation 11, verse 1. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of Elohim. The temple is the body of Christ, right? Which is the 144,000, which are 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes of Israel, from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. All right, measure the temple of Elohim and the altar and them that worship therein. So the 144,000 are not those that worship in the temple. They are the temple. Who are they that worship in the temple? The temple is the inner court. In the inner court, those are the Israelites. All right, those that worship therein are the Israelites. Measure the temple, the 144,000, and measure the remnant of Israel that worship therein. But the court which is without, the court which is outside, the outer court, leave out and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. And the holy city shall they tread underfoot 42 months. All right, now this is talking about the Gentiles of the other nations. They are on the outside of the temple, of the sanctuary, not inside. There is a distinction being made between Israel and the other nations. The other nations are not able to get as close to the temple as Israel is. All right? There's a difference made between the people. All right? Let's go to Luke 1 and 54. Luke chapter 1, verse 54. This is Mary speaking concerning the Father. He hath holpen his servant Israel in remembrance of his mercy. What does holpen mean? It means to embrace. She's saying the Father has embraced his servant Israel, his people Israel, in remembrance of his mercy. He spake to our fathers, to Abraham, and to his seed forever. All right. Let's go to verse 67. Zechariah's prophecy. Zechariah, this is the father of John the Baptist. And his father, Zacharias, was filled with the Holy Spirit and prophesied, saying, Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people. All right, because that's what Christ was doing. He was visiting and redeeming his people, gathering Israel, who was cast off, because Israel has not been cast off for good, but for a time. And from the time of Christ all the way until now, everything, it's all about the gathering of the family of God, the gathering of Israel. All right. And hath raised up an horn of salvation, strength, a power of salvation for us, which is Christ. He raised up the strength of salvation, the horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David. All right. From the family of, you see, house of, it means family of. All right. In the house of his servant David. And he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, since the world of Israel began, that we should be saved from our enemies. We who? Israelites should be saved from our enemies. That's what it's all about. And from the hand of all that hate us. Salvation is about Israel being saved from our enemies and from the hand of them that hate us. Christ returning is about saving Israel from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us, to perform the mercy promised to our fathers. So again, it's not about spiritual converts. It's all about the bloodline. It's all about the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right? That's what it's about bloodline. To perform the mercy promised to our fathers and to remember his holy covenant, the oath which he sware to our father Abraham, that he would grant unto us that we, being delivered out of the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear. That is the promise, that Israelites will be delivered out of the hands of their enemies to serve him without fear, in holiness and righteousness before him all the days of our life for eternity. And thou, child, shalt be called the prophet of the highest, for thou shalt go before the face of the Lord to prepare his ways, to give knowledge of salvation unto his people, unto Israel, by the remission of their sins, through the tender mercy of our Elohim, whereby the dayspring, Christ from on high, hath visited us. He didn't visit the earth. Of all the earth, all the people of the earth, he visited Israel, to give light to them that sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the way of peace. And the child grew and waxed strong in spirit, and was in the deserts to the day of his showing unto Israel. All right, let's go back to Acts. We're going to Acts chapter 3, verse 13. The Elohim of Abraham and of Isaac and of Jacob, the Elohim of our fathers, have glorified his son. So this is Peter speaking to the masses. He's speaking to a bunch of Israelites. All right. The God of our fathers hath glorified his son, Yahawashi. Why would Peter be saying the God of our fathers and not the God of everybody? Wouldn't Peter, the rock of Christ, right? Wouldn't he understand this matter? Wouldn't he have an understanding of this? Why would he be made the chief apostle and he wouldn't even have the very basic understanding of this? Why, if Christ came for the whole entire earth, why would Peter say this? Right? The God of our fathers hath glorified his son Yahawashi, whom ye delivered up and denied him in the presence of Pilate when he was determined to let him go. But ye denied the Holy One and the just, and desired a murderer to be granted unto you, and killed the Prince of Life, whom the Elohim hath raised from the dead, whereof we are witnesses. And his name, through faith in his name, hath made this man strong, whom ye see now, who ye see and know. Yea, the faith which is by him hath given him his perfect soundness in the presence of you all. Right? The faith which is by him hath given him this perfect soundness in the presence of you all. And now, brethren, I wot that through ignorance ye did it, as did also your rulers, meaning persecute the Messiah through ignorance. But those things which the Elohim before has showed by the mouth of all his prophets, that the Messiah should suffer, he hath so fulfilled. Repent ye, therefore, and be converted, that your sins may be blotted out when the times of refreshing shall come from the presence of the Lord. Why am I getting this? Because Christians believe that the simple act of many Judites being involved in the persecution and death of Christ, that meant automatic death, but it did not. Repentance was offered unto them who took part in that, and those who repented would have their sins blotted out when the times of refreshing should come from the presence of the Lord. So repentance was open for Israel to be converted, that their sins may be blotted out when the times of refreshing shall come from the presence of the Lord. And he shall send Yahawashi, our Messiah, which before was preached unto you, not to the whole earth, whom the heaven must receive until the times of restitution of all things, which Elohim hath spoken by the mouth of all his holy prophets since the world of Israel began. For Moses truly said unto the fathers, a prophet shall the Lord your Elohim raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall ye hear in all things whatsoever he shall say unto you. And it shall come to pass that every soul which will not hear that prophet shall be destroyed from among the people. Yea, and all the prophets from Samuel and those that follow after, as many as have spoken, have likewise foretold of these days. But let's not miss the part where he says, and it shall come to pass that every soul which will not hear that prophet shall be destroyed from among the people. So if you don't listen to what Christ said and you put anything or anybody else's word above his, you will be destroyed. Bottom line, from among his people, whether you be an Israelite or whether you be a non-Israelite that's trying to cleave unto the house of Israel. Whichever group you fall into, you will be destroyed from among the people. You will not get to cleave. You will not get to make it in the congregation of the righteous. And Christ said, I'm not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So if you say anything to the contrary, you will be one of those people who are destroyed. All right? He says, ye are the children of the prophets. See that? And of the covenant which God made with our fathers. The covenant the Father made was with the fathers, right? Were made with the children of Abraham, the children of Isaac, the children of Israel, right? Ye are the children of the prophets and of the covenant which Elohim made with our fathers, saying unto Abraham, and in thy seed shall all the kindreds of the earth be blessed. All the kindreds of the earth are blessed through the Israelites. We are the doorway, the pathway to blessings and mercy and any type of salvation for the other nations. It happens through us, not in spite of us, not instead of us, not going around us, but through us. All right, let's go to Acts 15. I decided to just keep this one going and make it a long video instead of breaking it up into parts. Why not, right? People can always watch this in sections. All right, Acts chapter 15, verse 22. Then pleased it the apostles and elders with the whole church to send chosen men of their own company to Antioch with Paul and Barnabas, namely Judas, surnamed Barsabbas, and Silas, chief men among the brethren, among Israel. All right. Then pleased it the apostles and elders with the whole church. Let's see what it means by church. Church. When you read all of these definitions, this is the only one that this can be applying to. The church is the assembly of the Israelites. So when we talk about the church of God, the church of Christ, the body of Christ, we are talking about the assembly of the Israelites. When we say the Christian church, we mean the Israelite followers of Christ, right? Because Christian means follower of Christ. But who were the followers of Christ that were first called Christians? The Israelites. All right. Verse 23, and they wrote letters by them after this manner. The apostles and elders and brethren send greeting unto the brethren, which are of the Gentiles. They're sending greetings unto the brethren, the Israelites, which are of the Gentiles, the Gentile Israelites, who are in Antioch and Syria and Cilicia, right? For as much as we have heard that certain which went out from us have troubled you with words, subverting your souls, saying, ye must be circumcised and keep the law, to whom we gave no such commandment. Right? And we read before about how the brethren were trying to subvert the souls of the other brethren, telling them that they must be circumcised, but there was no commandment given of such. All right? Let's go to Isaiah 46. Isaiah 46, verse 13. I bring near my righteousness, it shall not be far off, and my salvation shall not tarry. And I will place salvation in Zion. For what? For Israel, my glory. I will place salvation in Zion for Israel, my glory. Most High, he's telling you who salvation is for. How are we getting this wrong when God is telling us himself? If you're allowing men to overthrow the word of God, you are in great error and gross darkness. You do not put the word of men above the word of God. Do not allow them to misinterpret anything or to lie to you to get you to believe these lies. Take the word of God as the authority and believe what he says and not the interpretations of men. And I will place salvation in Zion, in Judah, for Israel, my glory. He calls Israel his glory. Israel is called the glory of God. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 39. Hold on to that understanding that Israel is the glory of Elohim. Ezekiel chapter 39, verse 21. And I will set my glory among the heathen, and all the heathen shall see my judgment that I have executed, and my hand that I have laid upon them. He's going to lay his hand upon the heathen, meaning the Gentile nations. He's going to set his glory among the heathen, the Israelites. Remember, the Israelites are his glory. Israel, my glory. I will set my glory, Israel, among the heathen. Not he's going to cause his glory to be made up of the heathen. I'm not going to replace my glory with the heathen. I'm not going to graft the heathen into my glory. No, I'm going to set my glory among the heathen. So the house of Israel shall know, the family of Israel shall know that I am Yahawah, Bahashem Yahawashi, their Elohim, from that day and forward. This is end time prophecy. This is talking about the time of the Magog, the prophecy against Gog, right? This is talking about that point in time, which we know happens at the end. All end time prophecy. This has not been fulfilled yet. This is still to come, right? And the heathen shall know that the house of Israel, that the family of Israel went into captivity for their iniquity, because they trespassed against me. Therefore hid I my face from them and gave them into the hand of their enemies. So fell they by the sword. Why is he saying this? Why is he going to let them know this? Because the heathen, they boast against his children, believing that they were somehow mightier than us and smarter than us and more cunning than us and better than us. And that's how they got us in captivity. That's how they were able to enslave us. They say these kind of things. I know they do because I've heard them say it from their own mouths. How they were just so much smarter, and that's how they got us in slavery. Being stronger and smarter than us, just better than us, more cunning than us, right? Wiser than us. And the heathen shall know that the house of Israel went into captivity for their iniquity. That's why I went into captivity, not because you had any might of your own, because our might was taken away, because he gave you strength and might above us. He took us down, lifted you up, and he put a spirit upon us that would allow us to be taken captive, and not the spirit of fighting to the death. Otherwise, none of Israel would have been preserved if he would have left his spirit of warriors within us. All right? He's going to make it known, the distinction between the heathen and the house of Israel in that day. According to their uncleanness and according to their transgressions have I done unto them, and hid my face from them. That was for a time, but then Israel's restoration. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God, now will I bring again the captivity of Jacob, meaning I will remove the captivity. I will bring them out of captivity and have mercy, listen, upon the whole house of Israel, upon the whole family of Israel, and will be jealous for my holy name. You have no idea how much it angers the Heavenly Father to hear other people saying that they become Israel, that they are the new Israelites, that they become Israel when they believe in Jesus. That enrages him. He says, I'm going to be jealous for my holy name. I'm going to have mercy upon the whole house of Israel. They will not be cast off and forsaken the way the heathens believe they will. After they have borne their shame and all their trespasses, whereby they have trespassed against me. Look at us. Look at the state of the Negroes. We are bearing all of our shame. We are still paying for our transgressions as a whole. But he says, after we have borne our shame and all of our trespasses, whereas we have trespassed against him, when we dwell safely in our land and none made us afraid, then he will remove our captivity and have mercy upon the whole house of Israel. And that's why many nations are fearful, watching the Negroes awaken to their heritage, because in their spirits, they can feel a shift coming. Our awakening means the fall of all the other nations. This world must fall for us to be reestablished. This world must fall for Christ to establish his reign here. This is how it goes. This is how it goes. All right. When I have brought them again from the people and gathered them out of their enemies' lands and am sanctified in them in the sight of many nations, then shall they know that I am Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashi, their Elohim, which caused them to be led into captivity among the heathen. But I have gathered them unto their own land and have left none of them any more there. Listen, when we are gathered into our own lands, we're gathered all at once. He's not going to leave any of us in the lands of our enemies, in the lands of our captivities. Israel is not supposed to be in their own land right now. It has not come to that point in prophecy yet. We're still supposed to be in the lands of our captivities. We are still supposed to be in our enemies' lands. Still to this day, waiting to be gathered into our own lands, where none of us will be left anymore in our enemies' lands. Neither will I hide my face any more from them, for I have poured out my spirit upon the house, upon the family of Israel, saith the Lord God. You hear this? Let's go to Zechariah chapter 8. Now, I was going to read all of this, but I've already made this video a lot longer than I really wanted to make it. So I'm just going to fast forward to the end for the sake of time. But I suggest you on your own time, whenever you get a chance, read the entirety of Zechariah chapter 8. All right. It would do you some good. All right. Let's just get here at verse 23. It says, thus saith the Lord of hosts, in those days, this is in time prophecy, it shall come to pass that 10 men shall take hold out of all languages of the nations, all languages of the Gentiles, even shall take hold of the skirt of him that is a Judite, saying, we will go with you, for we have heard that the Elohim is with you. All right, they're not going to take hold of the skirt of him that is a Gentile, or of one of those who is a spiritual convert or spiritual Israel, or one of those who are of the group of whosoever believe. No, they will take the skirt of him who is a Judite, saying, we will go with you, for we have heard that the Elohim is with you. All right, again, read the entirety of Zechariah chapter 8 for yourselves. I'm just trying to make this a little shorter because I got a few more scriptures I want to get. And, you know, if I can cut off 10 minutes or so, then so be it. Let's see, where do I want to go? I want to stay in Zechariah, go to Zechariah chapter 2. Let's come down. I was going to read it all, but we're going to skip down. Let's start maybe about verse 7. Deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest with the daughter of Babylon. Now, this is end time prophecy. O Zion, the children of Judah, right? That dwellest with the daughter of Babylon. We know, everybody knows, right, that the daughter of Babylon is a reference unto America. So the daughter of the Zion shall be dwelling with the daughter of Babylon. And because the scriptures told us that they would be in their enemies' lands, you would know that they are in the lands of their enemies, that Babylon is the land of their enemies, and that they are in the hands of their enemies and must be saved out of the hands of their enemies. So they're not just dwelling with the daughter of Babylon, that they are the enemies of the daughter of Babylon. They are in captivity to the daughter of Babylon. Who are the people in captivity? The people on the bottom, the people, the enemies that are the enemies of, and the most hated of those who run America, the nation of the United States, I should say. Not America, the United States. America is more than just the United States, but the United States, to be more specific and precise. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations. After the glory, what does that mean? Remember, he says, Israel, my glory. The glory means when Israel is made godlike, when we are made like unto Christ and our Father. After we have been beautified and glorified with his glory and made like unto him. After the glory hath he sent me unto the nations, which spoiled you. For he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye. For behold, I will shake my hand upon them, and they shall be a spoil to their servants. So those who serve themselves of us now, those who rule over us now, the daughter of Babylon will become our servants. We will make a spoil of them. They shall be a spoil unto us. And ye shall know that the Lord of hosts hath sent me. Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, for lo, I come, and I will dwell in the midst of thee, saith the Lord. Not in the midst of all the nations, not in the midst of whosoever believes. I will dwell in the midst of the daughter of Zion. And many nations shall be joined unto the Lord in that day, and shall be my people. And I will dwell in the midst of thee. And thou shalt know that the Lord of hosts has sent me unto thee. And the Lord shall inherit Judah, his portion, in the Holy Land, and shall choose Jerusalem. Again, this is important because there's a horrible doctrine out there that says Judah is going to be destroyed by Christ when he comes. Because Judah, they denied him and persecuted him, that Judah is going to be destroyed. Yes, this is a doctrine of many Christians out there. I've heard it spoken of. One major person who speaks about it way too often than she needs to goes by the name of Foot Lamp. Foot Lamp. Got a channel out here called Foot Lamp. And this woman is a pure demon, masquerading as an angel of light, trying to teach and preach the scriptures. And she preaches a doctrine that says that Judah is not only forsaken, but is going to be destroyed. But God calls Judah his portion, his inheritance. He loves Judah, but not according to certain heathens, certain Gentiles, certain Christians. Be silent, O all flesh, before Yahawah, for he is raised up out of his holy habitation. Again, letting you know this is talking about a future time to come. He has not raised up out of his holy habitation yet, but he will. And when he comes, you better be found in right standing with his people. You better have the right doctrine. You better have been doing the right things in preparation for his coming. Acts chapter 11, verse 26. And when he had found him, he brought him unto Antioch. And it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. And the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. The disciples, we all know the disciples were all Israelites. And the Israelites, it was telling you, were called Christians. Again, let's see. Again, it says church. We got it before. Since we're here, let's get it one more time. The assembly of the Israelites, all right? Church means assembly of the Israelites. Christians. Christians means follower of Christ, all right? Follower of Christ. And so if at the time, the only followers of Christ were Israelites, then the Christians had to be Israelites. And if church refers to the assembly of Israelites, the Christian church can only be the Christian followers who are of the assembly of Israel. That's it. That's all it could be. And in these days came prophets from Jerusalem unto Antioch. Prophets are coming from Jerusalem to Antioch. Israelites are leaving Jerusalem to go to Antioch, where other Israelites are, to prophesy to them, to teach them. And there stood up one of them named Agabus, and signified by the Spirit that there should be a great dearth throughout all the world. Dearth means famine. There should be a great dearth throughout all the world. He's not saying that there would be a great famine throughout the entire earth. He's meaning a great famine throughout the world of Israel, which came to pass in the days of Claudius Caesar. All right, there was a great famine that came throughout all the world of Israel that were in Roman captivity during the days of Claudius Caesar. Then the disciples, every man, according to his ability, determined to send relief unto the brethren which dwelt in Judea. Why? Because of the great famine. Why are they not trying to send great relief throughout all the earth? They're sending it unto Judea. Why? Because that's where Israelites are. It's the main place where the Israelites are. The capital, so to speak, at the time, right? So it says throughout all the world. It doesn't mean the earth. It means the world of Israel. We have to get out of our minds that every time the Bible says world, it means the earth. All right. So with that said, we're going to end this one here by giving all praise, honor, and glory to our Heavenly Father, Yahawah, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, our power, the horn of our salvation. We're looking forward to the coming of our power, to the restitution of all things, to the reformation and restoration of Israel. All right, that's what we're looking forward to. Israel has not been forsaken for good, has not been cast away for good. Now is the time of the gathering of Israel. And if you are a Gentile, the best thing that you can do right now is to try to be a blessing unto his people. Try to help awaken other Israelites. If you know Negroes that are in your Christian church, try to bring them out. If they don't understand that they are Israel, try to teach them. Lead them to the information. Lead them to the water. There's a blessing in it for you. Help his people. Be a blessing unto his people, and he may be a blessing unto you. That's why it's important to understand the truth. Glory to the highest. Grace, peace, and many blessings to the saints of God, to the Israel of Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahawashi. To everybody else, I pray that you learn something from this, that you gain something of value. And if you do, don't hide it, divide it. All right? Don't hoard the information or the knowledge to yourselves. Don't try to just save your own skin and not have any love or compassion for anybody else. Because remember, once before you were in ignorance. Now help somebody else come out of ignorance, if at all possible. Each one, reach one. That's the goal. Shalom.